Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the state of MSU football. We may get into a little bit of basketball, but I doubt it. We're with Spartan Nation senior writer Johnny Shope. Remember, his Scope of the Spartans final article of the season will come after the bowl game. I'm anticipating it that week between the bowl game and either the first of the year or the week after the first of the year, depending on his schedule. He's got to take care of family first. But, John, we're going to get into a lot of stuff tonight. There is a revolt presently going on among some of the biggest donors to Michigan State. They're very frustrated with leadership. They're very frustrated with a lot. And I want to ask you point blank, are you convinced Mark Dantonio is going to be back next year, or do you think this is still a to be determined?
I think as we stand here on this date that he will be back. Again, I understand that's in opposition to what you've been reporting forever. I just don't understand how in the world you couldn't figure out to set up a proper transition and retirement plan. So I've got to bet that that's the way it's going to go. I mean, anything can happen, and it appears Mark Dantonio is in fine health right now, but he has the all-time can pull it out of the hat tomorrow card if he ever wanted to stop coaching for any reason at all. He could say, hey, I think this is best for my health, and nobody would ever possibly question it. So as of this time, I do think he'll be back. But, and man, if he's not, the timing would be very strange.
All right, John, I want to ask you, we just briefly touched on it last week.
Yep.
I reported this summer that there were a lot of people close to Dantonio who felt like after the February signing day he would go and almost try to force the university's hand to get Tressel. That's no secret. I have reported that. I want you to know that I do believe he is 100% committed to coming back. I believe that. But I don't believe it's 100% certain that he is. Now, he will not be fired. He got Bill Beekman his job. Bill Beekman will not fire him. Yep. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't know that Bill Beekman is going to be the athletic director there for a long time. I'm not calling for him to get fired. I'm just telling you.
Sure.
I'm not going to say much. I'm going to wait and report on that a little bit later. But I'm not sure that Bill Beekman will be there. So let's talk about names of potential people. First of all, I think at the top of the list has to be Pat Narduzzi. I know that at one point Mark Hollis wanted to name him coach in waiting, and Mark Dantonio would have nothing with it. I asked Dantonio about it at the time. He said, you can't have that. Then players don't know who to listen to, and there's too many voices. I know for a fact that was an idea that Hollis wanted to do to keep Narduzzi here. Dantonio shot it down. I think Pat Narduzzi has to be at the top of the list of people that you consider if Mark Dantonio leaves. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think he'd be near the top of the list for some natural reasons. There's some natural continuity there. The guy knows the lay of the land. You know, the coach in waiting thing for a minute looked like it might be the next trend in major college football. It really never worked out or panned out, so it's kind of gone by the wayside for good. But when you come up with a short list, and I came up with about a dozen names of just at least guys you want to have a conversation with, Pat Narduzzi would be very close to the top. And there's also a unique thing, I think, that Pat Narduzzi has gained so much by working in a different league, in a different situation. I believe that he is more prepared now to be a head coach at Michigan State or in the Big Ten than he was when he left, because he has another appreciation for the skill level, the type of player you need maybe to run the specifics of his defense from a textbook situation. And also he's had to learn to make some adjustments as well, dealing with the different kind of athlete and different kind of talent levels that they've had at Pitt during his time.
All right, give me some other names and talk about them individually as you go. Let's talk about one I think Michigan State would have a good shot with, Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, well, it's a fun list to make, and to me, Marvin Lewis is the most intriguing name in the coaching market right now for one major reason. We don't know which way he's going to go. If you remember, and some don't know, Marvin Lewis agreed to take the Michigan State job in principle when it eventually went to John L. Smith. After he flew back, I believe, to the Redskins where he's a defensive coordinator, he realized, you know what, I really want to be an NFL coach. I don't want to do Michigan State wrong. I'm going to withdraw my name. Now, that tells us now, so many years later, a couple things. One, there's a natural, at least, interest at the time, and that could carry over. And really, it depends what Marvin Lewis wants to do. Does he want to go back and grind in the NFL game, or has this experience at Arizona State been enough to convince him, hey, I would take a major college job? Here's the facts about Michigan State. They've been to the playoff before. They can compete at the highest level of sports. So I do think Marvin Lewis is maybe the most intriguing name in coaching at really what move he's going to make this offseason. If I'm anybody looking for a coach, I'd want to find out immediately whether he would have any interest or not. But I'd have him up there. Another guy from the pro game is not available yet, expected to be available, of course, is Pat Shermer.
A lot of people don't know because they're just young. Shermer is a Spartan.
Yeah, not only that, I believe he was captain of the Rose Bowl team in '87. I believe he started as a coaching career in the Saban days during the late '90s. Some folks are really young, Honda. They don't even remember that Pat Shermer was maybe a candidate when Mark Dantonio got the job. But that was a million years ago in the coaching career of Pat Shermer. He's been an NFL outstanding coordinator with a lot of success. He's been an NFL head coach. And for him, his personal professional crossroads may come about in this offseason where he may be open, and the Michigan State job could come open if you're talking about that Dantonio may not be there next year. So that's a guy also on the short list for sure. And as far as the pro game, I think that pretty much covers my list, except this wild card. And take some notes now, folks. This is very important. We're talking about Bob Stoops, and here's why we're talking about Bob Stoops. If Bob Stoops is ever going to coach in the Big Ten at a school that has a shot to win the college football playoff, the Michigan State opening is probably his best last look. I don't think he's going to get a look at Ohio State or Penn State. I don't think he can get from, even if he went back to Iowa in some dream scenario, to the college football playoff from there. So Bob Stoops is at least a guy I would want to have a brief conversation with to find out if he has any interest in going back to the college game at all.
Now, John, I loved your list that you sent me, but I'm going to be honest. When I saw Stoops, I just laughed like, okay, why don't we put Belichick on there? He's not coming here.
Well, I wasn't sure. You know, there's some guys like, obviously Meyer will never coach in the Big Ten East. Saban's not coming back. Mike Tomlin's not coming. The only reason I put Stoops in there, Hondo, is because if he's ever going to go coach in the Big Ten, which I don't know that he would have any interest in, this is it. This is the last best look for his career that he would get. Just like it would, again, probably be a great chance for Shermer to take a look. Another guy on my list I want to have a conversation with. A couple of these guys have already been locked up. Matt Campbell, I would want to have a conversation with. Mike Leach would have been briefly interesting to have a conversation with. I'm going to assume that they're put there and gone. Here's a wild card name nobody will expect me to put out there. It's Brett Bielema. I would just want to have a conversation with Brett Bielema to find out where he's at. My expectation is that he's in love with the pro game and he's absolutely done with the college game. But there is no mistaking that Brett Bielema in 2020 is not much like the Brett Bielema that left Arkansas when they sent him packing. The reason is he's been working at the New England Patriots for a couple of years, folks. That means he's a different coach than he was before.
What about Jones?
Here's another name. Yeah, here's the thing. Butch Jones is another guy I think that would be a candidate for the Michigan State job. And you need to understand this as clearly as possible, folks. If you haven't seen the HBO special on Nick Saban and Bill Belichick about, coaching football at the highest level ever, you need to watch it. If you haven't seen it, you wouldn't see how often Butch Jones pops up there. Butch Jones was arguably not qualified for the Michigan State job before he went to Alabama. Butch Jones, to me, now is primed and ready to take a major college football job and do very well for one major reason. He has just refined his craft at the very highest level in the sports history. So he's not out there learning from this guy or that guy. He's learning from the very best. So, and obviously you've got some home state ties and that he's a guy from the state. I think Butch Jones would make a good candidate for the Michigan State job, and I'd want to have a real serious conversation with him. And there's one other name there's two other names before we dive into them deeper. One is David Shaw. It's not going well at Stanford for David Shaw. He's never going to get to the college football playoff from Stanford. I think he realizes that now. I'd be curious if he was ever looking to make a move, such as one to East Lansing where you've got a shot. And then there's a total wild card. And I'm talking about the kind of wild card that Brian Kelly was back in 2002 when people in the state of Michigan who know football were saying, this is the guy Michigan State should go get. That's a guy named Will Healy down at the University of Charlotte. That's my short list I came up with in about 10 minutes a couple weeks back.
He is the one and only, the great John Shope. John, very quickly, we've got a minute 30. Actually, we don't even that much. Yeah, we will make it more like a minute 10. Is there anything you're looking for coming out of the bowl, into the bowl game?
No, honestly, there's really nothing I'm looking for out of this bowl game. I just want people to stay healthy. I don't think it has any carryover to next year. I don't think it means anything about the season. What I'm looking for in the next coach, if there is one, is a guy that's going to give you at least 6 good years. I think that's a reasonable goal and a reasonable expectation.
All right. He's the one and only Spartan Nation senior writer, John Shope. Look for his final article on the season, scope of the Spartans after the bowl game at some point. Not saying where and yet. You got to take care of family and Christmas and all the holidays, but it's coming. And let me tell you, it will be a brutal, honest, in-depth biopsy. We'll be back.